The Class 185 Desiro is a German-built regional 3-car-long diesel hydraulic multiple unit. Built in North Rhine-Westphalia in a city that's twinned with Leicester, and operated by TransPennine Express, the 185 has been vital in providing frequent, affordable, and reliable express and regional train services across the north of England since 2006. At least that's what the press email is asking me to say, under the assumption that this is a truth. They can be seen serving well-funded places such as Hull, Stalybridge, Sheffield, Redcar, Doncaster, Leeds, Grimsby Town, Saltburn, Scunthorpe, Warrington West, Huddersfield, Newcastle, Liverpool South Parkway, Manchester, Moulton, Chesterley Street, Northallerton and most importantly, Thorn South. So do I think the 185's fare well with regards to the pain and suffering it has been through for the last 17 years? Or should it be thrown into the North Sea and forcibly fed to the genetically altered basking sharks? Let's find out. Some individuals may be wondering why I'm not reviewing the rest of the UK Desiro units along with the 185 today. It's a fair thought to have, but this is because of it being a diesel. It has some design differences that affect my overall verdict more. Also, the 185 is significantly better than some other Desiros I have been on. Gluten tag. We shall look at the rest of the UK Desiro family another time in the future. Maybe. The 185 was introduced to replace and standardize the TransPennine Express services in the mid-2000s. Prior to that, services were operated using either the Class 158, the 170 or 175s. Carradia issues aside, it would be a lie to say that the predecessors were bad trains or anything like that, but the 2 and 3 car formations on long distance routes led to overcrowding issues being quite common, even outside of peak hours. The obvious solution to the problem was a fleet of 51 3-car diesel multiple units, which totally didn't have a lower seating count than the 3-car units of what they replaced. In fact, let's just get this out the way now. Overcrowding is still an issue on TransPennine Express.
No way!
Yeah, I don't know how many more times this has to be said, but 3-car trains don't work on long distance routes if your goal is to carry passengers in a healthy degree of comfort. If the 4 and 5-car Virgin Voyagers were suffering from overcrowding on their long distance routes, what did they seriously think would happen with the 185s? The issues with overcrowding were brought up multiple times, as soon as all the 185s entered service, and whilst the trains are capable of running in multiple to give 6-car long trains, this isn't feasible to do for every train service running each day. 51 trains is a lot, until you remember that our mates back at Southern have nearly 240 of their Electrostars, meaning they can afford to run more of their services in 8 and 12 car formations easily. My personal conspiracy theory was that the Strategic Rail Authority were jealous of Siemens getting the building contract, so they wanted to sabotage the 185 as part of their plot to never give the North a decent train service. In the interest of fairness, the introduction of TransPennine Express's Class 397 and Class 802 have helped increase capacity on certain routes that used to be served by the 185s. Their higher top speeds, electric power, 5-car formations and bisexual operation in the case of the 802 have helped mitigate overcrowding and reducing journey times as well. So it's not like TransPennine Express are totally useless. Just slightly. In terms of appearance, I like it. The 185s have appeared in a handful of liveries over the years, and I liked both the old and new TransPennine Express liveries applied to it. The lack of a cab gangway means that you cannot walk between a pair of units, but it also means that drivers no longer view the world in letterbox mode. Despite sharing the same drivetrain to that of the Class 180 and the same engines as the Voyagers, the 185 sounds remarkably different from the both when departing and at speed. It's not my favorite sounding diesel train, but they certainly sound good, that's for sure, which is a very nice bonus. The 185s are fast, I think, maybe, I dunno. My research into this train's acceleration has left me with inconclusive results for the first time doing these reviews. The official maximum acceleration rate of 0.49 meters per second squared seems to be rather slow, but various other videos I've watched of the 185s departing a station seem to somewhat disprove this. Even the 185 on Train Simulator, which is the second most reliable source of information since the Daily Mirror, shows the 185 accelerating with Nissan GTR physics. So as lazy as this seems, I'm just going to be a fence sitter and state that the Class 185 can accelerate at a measurable speed. The top speed of 100 miles per hour is faster than the express sprinters and equal to the 170 and 175. This top speed is fine enough for most lines, though issues start happening when using lines with high speeds, like the East Coast Main Line with its 125 miles per hour top speeds. This can result in it causing delays to other faster trains if late. Also, despite the higher top speed than the Class 158, the 185 can end up being paradoxically slower than it some of the time. How is that possible? This is because the 185 is not permitted to use any other speed variable in the UK, which means certain routes will have its maximum permitted speed nerfed, whereas any other train running the same line will be able to continue as if nothing was different. An analogy would be to imagine driving on a motorway in a coach versus driving in your mate's escort Cosworth. The speed nerf of the 185 is brought along due to its sheer weight, weighing about 53 tons more than the 158. This also requires the train to be slightly more powerful, and at 2,257 horsepower per train, it packs more than double the total power of a 3-car 158. In fact, a single 185's engine produces more power than a 2-car 158. The sheer power even prevents the train from using full throttle until the train has reached speed, due to fear of the gearbox sending a string of slightly annoyed texts to the engine. On the plus side, the additional power does help the 185s with hill climbing on certain lines. Any viewers local to the Harrogate line, or residing in a log cabin in Perthshire, will be happy to write out a master's thesis on how much the Turbostar struggles on some of the slightly steep sections they have to endure on a daily basis. So what is the 185 like to ride on? We have an excellent 2+2 seating arrangement throughout the train, and I really mean excellent, since these seats are lovely to sit in. They are a great shape, soft to the touch with wonderful padding, and feel like they were designed by someone who actually wanted people to have a nice train journey for once. This shall now be the yardstick of what I expect from a new train in the UK. Anything less than this is crap. The 185 has some of the best seats on the UK railway. Well done for that. The seats are provided with tables, with the folding ones of a good size along with some folding armrests too. Charging points with both 3-pin and USB sockets are provided too, allowing you to recharge your Leapfrog Leapster as you trundle through the Pennines. Window alignment is okay as well. It's not perfect as some seats are a bit off here and there, but you have to actually try to get the Alston treatment. Catering on board is limited to portable trolleys because lol. Luggage racks are provided in each coach as well as luggage storage above the seats, and opposite this one is a row of folding seats which can be used for bicycle storage. The folding seats themselves are also not too bad to sit on too. Also next to this luggage rack, there seems to be this huge block taking up the space inside. I think this has something to do with the exhaust system, but it may as well be a secret portal to Narnia as far as I'm concerned. Look at this, a well-designed passenger information display screen. Not only is the information well spaced out, but additional information such as connecting train times and advisory information for short platforms is included too. What a beautiful sight to behold. First class is located in a portion of one of the driving coaches, separated by sliding doors. A first class ticket grants you a 2+1 seating arrangement, with bigger tables, curtains, thicker armrests and seats draped in leather painted with the same color as Mila's fur. It's a nice interior I must say, though above my pay grade to fully experience. Each train has a pair of toilets, resulting in one toilet less than the equivalent 3-car 158 or 175 that they replaced. The standard size toilet is located in the center coach and is a bit small, but uses a sliding door to save space. Fine enough if you ask me, but the disabled toilet isn't located where you'd expect. Most trains in the UK, with a few exceptions here and there, have their toilets placed towards the gangway end of a coach. This can be seen on other members of the Desiro family. But the 185 wants to be special, so its disabled toilet is placed right behind the driver's cab. To this day, I never understood this toilet placement on here. Both the disabled toilet and disabled space itself are fine enough though, with tip-up seats provided, but you are also shut off from first class, since disabled passengers are peasants that don't deserve first class travel on the 185. The future of the 185 is rather stable for now, especially more since the Class 68 Nova 3 sets are currently in Guantanamo Bay. Originally in 2019 there was a plan for nearly half of the 185 fleet to be sent back to Eversholt Rail and given an all expenses paid holiday to Long Marston. Thankfully this proposal was shut down, and the individual who suggested this has been sentenced to read Homestuck. That being said, Siemens have proposed a new version of the Desiro aimed primarily for the UK market. Currently named the Desiro Verve, this platform aims to rectify the shortcomings of the previous models, especially the weight issues, as well as provide a modular interior layout and up to 125 miles per hour operation. At the time of making this review, no orders for the Verve have been placed by any UK operator, let alone TransPennine Express. So not much more can be said outside of looking at the concept art they've produced. Conclusion. Ignoring the 373 for a moment, the Class 185 is one of the best trains to ride on in the UK, with a huge asterisk placed after that statement, as this is only the case when the train isn't stupidly busy, which almost always happens due to the pathetic 3-car formations it runs in. All they had to do was make the train longer and suddenly, those pesky overcrowding issues would have been greatly reduced. I'm not asking for the 1319 from Lime Street to Cleethorpes to be an 18-car long service. That's absurd. But maybe having 6 or 7 coaches would be a bit more reasonable to ask. I also think it would have been better if the 185's design was more closer to the intercity layout of the Class 444 as well. Maybe a little buffet shop as a bonus too. But that's it, since I pretty much like everything else with this train. It's just a huge shame that it's constantly being held back by its gay 3-car coach formations. There's potential for an amazing train experience here, if these issues get rectified sooner rather than later. Hopefully whatever comes along in the future to replace these trains ends up being a worthy successor to the 185. Let me dream for once please. Now you know my thoughts on the 185. Go out there, and actually here's a fun fact for you today, since there aren't any strikes going on at the moment. Did you know that if you were to couple up every single 185 end to end, the total train length would be roughly 3.6 kilometers long? That's longer than the Humber Bridge. Impressive.